So, I'm going to assume that this might be your first interaction with the field of web development. And so, before we start writing HTML and CSS code, I think we should begin this course with a very detailed and high level overview of the field of web development. So, in this video, we will take a look at the core concepts such as how the client and the servers interact, what is the front end and back end development, what are a static and dynamic website, and the core language and core technologies of the web development. So, we will start by understanding all of this from the complete basics right from the moment you search for a website on your web browser. Just keep in mind that these are just a high level overview and I am skipping a lot of internal details and advanced concepts of the World Wide Web because at this point you don't need a PhD lecture on the World Wide Web. Okay, so let's say that we are trying to access codeblockdev.com from our browser, and yes, codeblockdev.com is the official website of this channel, so do make sure to check that out. Now, what happens when we try to access this website? Well, the answer is the browser will send a request to the server where this page is hosted on the internet. So every website and application is stored on something called a server, which is a computer that is connected to the internet and can receive a request like this one. So when we search for any website, the web browser will send a request to the server where the website is stored, and then when the server receives the request, it will take all the files that make up the website and send them back to the browser. So we say that the server sends a response to the browser which essentially contains all of these files that the website is made of. Now you can see from these file extensions we have some HTML, CSS and also JavaScript code here, and these are the three languages that browsers can understand. So what this means is that all of the code that makes up a website needs to be always written in these three languages: HTML, CSS and JavaScript, because these are the three core technologies that any browser can understand. Now, once the browser receives these HTML, CSS and JavaScript files from the service response, it will take the code and render the website we are trying to access. And with this, you already have a good understanding of what happens behind when we browse a web page, and you also understood the technology we use to build any website. And this process of writing HTML, CSS and JavaScript code is the process that we call front-end web development. So whenever you hear someone talking about front-end development, it simply means the developers writing code that is displayed in the browser, which is the front end of a website. And in fact, this is what we are going to learn in this course. So very fundamentals of front end development, which is learning HTML and CSS. Now, whenever the files that make up the website are simply stored on the web server and then they are sent back to the browser, they are called a static website. And this will make a little bit more sense in a minute when we will talk about what a dynamic website is. But for now, just keep in mind that a static website is a website where the files are simply sent from the server to the browser as they are without any transformation. So I hope that from this you learned what is front-end development and also about the three core technologies that make up any website. And so now let's take it one step further and talk about something called backend development. So let's try another example here. So let's try to understand what would happen when you try to access a website like youtube.com. So again, the first step that happens is a request is sent to the server where youtube.com is hosted. Now, websites like youtube.com are different from a website like codeblockdev.com, which is a static website. And the reason behind this is complex websites like youtube.com is completely different because there is a lot of content that always keeps changing. For example, on YouTube, every 1 hour, 400 videos are uploaded. Older videos views are updated, new comments are made and videos are liked. More channels are subscribed and a lot of other things keeps happening. And so to make a whole system like this, youtube.com needs a complete system for developing a server and a big database that contains all of the data that is uploaded on YouTube like videos, shorts, comments and a whole bunch of analytical data that is shown on the channel's dashboard. Now, to do all of these, front-end technologies like HTML and CSS are simply not enough. So whatever I will teach you in this course, by using simply that, you won't be able to build a website like youtube.com. So to write applications that are executed on web servers, developers use some kind of backend languages like Node.js, PHP, Python, or Ruby on Rails. So this language takes data out of a database and assembles that data into the final files that will be then sent back to the browser as a response. This whole process is called backend development because this is the invisible part of the website. Now in this situation, we say that we have a dynamic website because the website is dynamically assembled from different pieces on the server, and that happens each time someone visits the website. This is the reason when you visit youtube.com, each time you see a different homepage that is developed based on your search history. You don't see the same content each time. If YouTube was a static website, then the website files would be sitting on the server waiting for someone to access them. So that's the difference between static and dynamic websites. Static files are already completed, and in dynamic they first needs to be generated by an application that is running on the server, and the rest of the process is the same as before. So the files are now ready to be sent back to the browser as a response, which will then be converted to the final website like this one. So now you understand the complete detail about what is a static website and what is a dynamic website. Now you don't need to memorize all of this, and also no need to deeply understand this process. I wanted to give you a broad overview of what front-end and backend actually are, what the browser and the server are, and also what static and dynamic websites are. So I thought it will be immensely helpful for you to start your developer journey. Now just to finish, let's take a closer look at the three languages of the front-end development. So HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And starting from HTML, HTML is responsible for the content of the web page. So whatever you see on the web page like text, images, buttons, etc. are always written inside the HTML file. Then the CSS is responsible for the presentation of the content. So for laying out elements on the web page and styling all of the content that you see. And finally, JavaScript is the actual programming language of the front end. So it allows us to add dynamic and interactive effects to the web page. We can also use it to manipulate the content or the CSS to load data from web servers and even to build entire front-end applications which are called as web applications. We can also use the analogy of nouns, adjectives, and verbs to make the separation of roles here a little bit easier to understand. So in this analogy, HTML represents the nouns. For example, saying that the P element is a paragraph. So paragraph is the noun here. The CSS then is the adjective because it describes the noun. For example, this piece of CSS saying that the paragraph text is black, and so black is the adjective describing the noun. And finally, JavaScript is actually the verb. So like saying hide the paragraph. Okay, so with this, we finished our introduction to web development. So we are now ready to start learning the complete fundamentals like HTML and CSS. So let's now get ready, and in the next video, we will set up our code editor and I will walk you through these steps. So see you in the next one. So do make sure to subscribe and like the video if you like the course so far. See you in the next one.